Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And what's the appetizer tonight? Well, we are going to be talking about a $50 peripheral that lets you play Game Boy cartridges on your Steam Deck. It can play from Game Boy up to Game Boy Advance cartridges. It's a little device that you basically put the cartridges in, and there's a little dongle that connects it straight into your Steam Deck. Now, this is called the Game Boy Operator. It's been available since August of 2021. It was originally designed to work on just PC, running Windows, Linux, or Mac OS, but now it can work on the Steam Deck, which is pretty cool. So it uses an open source MGBA emulator. That's what it's using, as opposed to the FPGA solutions like you see in like the Analog Pocket or the Mister, right? So it is emulation still, not, which, emulation's nice and all. It comes with its negatives, but it is cheaper, and that's why this device is $50, right? Because if you're looking at FPGA, you're going to be spending, and that's based off FPGA is using a chip instead of just software. It's using actual hardware, and that's usually a lot more expensive, as the Analog Pocket is around $220 if you want to buy that, compared to the $50 little device that you can buy here to play your Game Boy games on your PC, or in this case, on the Steam Deck. So this is a really cool little device that I don't think we knew was out. It's been out since August of last year. So basically, the operator, so basically this GB operator lets you skip having to dump a ROM from your cart before playing it. Should you not want to put carts into the device, the operator does provide a convenient method of flash and dump ROMs. And you can transfer your saves between your computer and the cart. So that's really cool. If you wanted to play, you don't have to have the cartridges. You can also play ROMs off of utilizing this. We talked about ROMs before. ROMs are kind of a sticky subject, but, it is what it is. But anyway, we're going to go over here to Pat and see what he thinks about this little device. Pat, what do you think?
If you have a lot of Game Boy and all the way up to Game Boy Advance cartridges sitting around collecting dust, this might be the time to buy one of these. Seems like the Steam Deck is turning into quite the little retro device. There's all kinds of emulators that are being created for it and stuff like this. And now you have a peripheral that lets you actually plug in the carts. So that's pretty awesome if you've got cartridges running around. Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough when I was younger to hold on to all my carts when I had Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and all that stuff. I typically traded them in along with the Game Boy for the next best model, because that's what I did. Kicking myself in the rear as an adult for doing that, but it does have, like you said, it does have options to load ROMs onto this and things like that. So if you have those, so that's something. But what I really think is cool is the $50 peripheral that you could just plug your cart in and then run the software emulation for it. Now, as we all know, the FPGA is going to be a more higher fidelity, conversion or playing emulation for those games, because it's hardware level solution, which is always going to be better than the software level emulation. It's just the way it is. You're not going to get that close, but it can't be that much worse. Famous last words right there, right? Can't be that much worse. But that if you've got the cartridges, then this thing is going to be, you probably already own this. I would imagine you probably already have it plugged into your dang PC. I don't have a whole lot of cartridges, but Nick, do you have a whole lot of cartridges running around still, man, for your old games?
I don't. I have some, but I don't. I used to have a ton when I was younger, but of course I did the same thing. I sold them off and everything like that, but I do have some cartridges. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be the thing though, right? I guess, those are kind of not that easy to find anymore unless you're going to like flea markets and stuff. So the cartridges can still be found, which they're usually relatively cheap at a flea market or something like that. But the ones that you really want to play, those are going to be the high dollar ones that people are wanting a couple $100 for. And you have to go to the retro cons and stuff like that to pick those up, which is the unfortunate part. But this is a really cool thing. I'd like to get one, even though I don't own a Steam Deck, but I do own a PC. And I have to go get me a whole lot more cartridges, right? there are a lot of games that I remember playing and enjoying on my Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and all that stuff. I myself don't like retro enough to buy the Analog Pocket or the Mister, but I could spend $50 and then buy some random cartridges for games that I want to play here and there. But I really am not going to be able to afford a, the Pocket. I really am not going to be able to afford that to play these games because, I may pull out something like this once in a blue moon, right? I'm going to pull it out once a month or once every other month. And I'm like, how am I justifying spending $220, for this thing? It's just not in my wheelhouse. But like I said, for $50, it's a lot more approachable for me. And maybe I can get back into some of those older cartridge games that I never got to finish or that I never really got into because I couldn't afford them when I was younger or whatever reasoning. So I actually think it's a good thing, but the whole built-in ROM things also puts it in that gray area, right? The whole thing with ROM is a huge gray area. And I wish that I've said this many times. I wish game developers and publishers of these old retro cons would just create a ROM marketplace, just eliminate some of this gray area, create a ROM marketplace. Cause I would definitely partake. I'd buy ROMs legitimately from these places and store them because there's a lot of ROMs that I'd love to have. And half the time, if you're out there ROM hunting, if you own the game and you're out there ROM hunting, you get crap copies where you get malware, you get viruses, you get whatever trying to get ROMs for this stuff. Or if you're able to rip your own, that's even better. But that's a lot of work and that's not time that I have to do that. So I really wish these guys would put in a ROM marketplace and just sell it outright. I don't want them to sell it at full game prices of $60 because that just doesn't make sense. But if something like that ever did exist, that's probably what they would do. But what do you think, Nick? Man, are you gonna buy one of these for your computer now?
Probably not. But because I don't have it currently, but I did buy an analog pocket, so that should be coming hopefully by the end of this year. And I bought the dock with the pocket, which allows you to dock it to your television, so you can dock your pocket and then display it on your TV and stuff. But if you didn't want to spend the $220 for the analog pocket and or a Mister, I don't know how much a Mister is. I mean, because a Mister is more of a do-it-yourself. You kind of have to put it together. I think a Mister is a little bit cheaper option, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. But for $50. This is a pretty cool little device, especially if you have a bunch of cartridges. This is exactly what you said. If you have a bunch of cartridges sitting around, but you don't have the devices to play them on, this would be a nice little thing to be able to hook up into if you have a Steam Deck, right? To hook up to your Steam Deck, or if you have just a laptop or desktop PC or whatever, to hook in there and play these cartridge games that maybe you have laying around, right? It's not too complicated. It's not too bad to get a hold of an old Game Boy or something, but this is definitely a cheaper option if you don't mind emulation, right? I mean, that's really the thing. Is if you don't mind emulation, some people do mind it a lot and some people don't, right? So it depends on you as an individual. If you don't mind emulation, this is great. If you do mind emulation and you want more hardware based stuff, then, Mister, FPGA, or the analog, or getting the actual original device, right, is going to be a better option. But if you're looking for something that's cheap and it seems like a pretty cool little device, like if I didn't have an analog pocket coming, I would probably pick one of these up because there's only $50. So I would definitely pick it up and check it out and play with it. I've been wanting to buy more Game Boy games and stuff like that. I just didn't have anything to play them on. And now that I'm going to get my analog, I've been looking more and more at Game Boy games and stuff. But of course, just like Pat said, the ones I really want are super expensive. And the ones and then I've looked at a few and I'm like, I don't know if I want to get that or not, So I've been kind of picky on my Game Boy games, but there are a lot of really good Game Boy games out there that I remember playing when I was younger and stuff like that I miss playing today that I want to either revisit, or ones that I never got to play that were on Game Boy. The different variations of Game Boy. So something like this would be really cool, especially maybe even if you don't have any cartridges, but you're looking into collecting and playing Game Boy games and you don't have any devices, maybe buy this $50 add-on, little device, and then go start your collection, start playing your games through that, So it's awesome to see more options out there, right? We have enough emulator machines for things like Super Nintendo, and stuff like that, but you don't see a lot for these portable devices, the old ones that are gone, right? You don't see a lot of these emulation machines or whatever for stuff like the Game Boy and maybe the PSP and various things of that nature. So it's cool to see them, to see companies kind of start to venture in that direction of building emulation machines that that start going for the stuff that you normally don't see on the store shelves, like for Genesis and Nintendo and Super Nintendo and stuff.
Yeah. I wonder if this company is going to put out more adapters for like the Game Gear and stuff like that. Like I know, like you're talking about the Pocket, they have the add-on modules that you could slap in to play like Game Gear and Neo Geo Plus and stuff like that. So that's going to be really cool for that device. But I wonder if these guys are going to move into some more other emulators, because I would definitely like to branch out and to get to play some of those old Game Gear games that I missed out on. I would definitely love to try some more of those. But yeah, I would love to get into more Game Boy and Game Boy Advance stuff and things like that. But this is kind of a good way to get into that. $50, plug it into your computer, and you get your emulator, and then start hitting the garage sales and the flea markets and all that stuff, and finding those games that you missed out on when you were younger, or maybe you weren't even born and you just saw some of this stuff and you're like, I really want to play that and try that out. I'm definitely on board for this stuff. I really just want more. I want certain, I should say, retro games, because I'm not the biggest retro gamer out there by any means. I have a hard time going back to some of the older stuff because it ruins my nostalgia a little bit. But there's plenty of stuff that I did not get to play that I really do want to play, and I do miss that I didn't get to play it. And I don't have a Game Boy anymore, Game Boy Advance and all that. I have a Game Gear, but I'm not even sure it even works anymore. But you can go out and buy those things. Yes, you can, but you're looking to pay a decent penny for something that's halfway decent anymore, or it's in good shape. And then not to mention the carts. So kind of a good entry point back into some of those old handheld consoles back in the day, those handheld gaming items. So I think it's a good thing. And at a $50 price point, that's not that expensive when you consider a lot of this retro gaming stuff, because I've seen a lot of peripherals but like I said, this is software driven. It's not the FPGA like the Mister or the Pocket, so take it what you will. $50, you're going to get what you pay for, really. And then you got to configure the software. That's not that hard, but it does take some getting used to messing with emulators and how to get them set up right and changing them between games and things like that. That will happen. But sounds like the Steam Deck is turning out to be a good little gaming system for regular PC games and Steam games, and as well as some retro games. So you can install emulators. Good buy, good deal, in my opinion. So if you like this stuff, I'd go out and get one for $50 if you can. I don't know how often they stay in stock.
Yeah, it looks like they're in stock right now. And we'll have a link down in the description below where you can go and check it out for yourself from Epilogue, who make this device. And then you can, if you're interested in purchasing one or something, you're looking at the information on their site. But yeah, I mean, especially if you have a Steam Deck, that'd be a cool little addition for your Steam Deck. If you're going out and about and you have the Steam Deck with you, pop that in. You can play some Game Boy games on the train or on the bus or whatever, car rides and stuff. That's pretty cool. The Steam Deck is almost becoming like a one for all kind of device with these emulators, right? We talked about before, but Steam had that oopsie with the Switch emulation. So I mean, this little Steam Deck's becoming the emulator king right here. You just emulate and play a whole bunch of crap on it. So, but for this, this is using emulation still, but it's a little hardware piece that you plug into it. But it's all this stuff is really cool. I like seeing all this stuff come out. Like you said, if you're really wanting some really decent quality, hardware and stuff like that to play these on, then you're going to pay for it, right? The Analog Pocket and the Misters do a really great job of what they're designed to do, but you're going to pay a pretty penny for that really great job, right? Because emulation is not always the best, but emulation will get the job done. So it's not as bad as it seems, but if you want that hardware type of emulation, then you have to pay a pretty penny for it, because those FPGA chips and stuff are not cheap. So so anyway, this is a pretty cool device. Pat, you got anything else you want to say about it or anything?
Nope. Just come out with more of these little GB operators that do like Game Gear games. I want that next.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like all the different like Neo Geo and Neo Geo Pockets and like all these other different handhelds that used to be around back in the day. But so like I said, check out the link below in the description if you want to check this device out and pick one up for yourselves. But thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you hit the like on the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. You listened this far, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that way you join us on here. Make sure you hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. And other than that, we'll see you next time.